Greetings, wayward souls. It's the Game Pack Preacher, and I have a question to ask. Have you seen this guy, thingamajig, man? Yeah, have you seen this man anywhere? Cause I don't know about the rest of you, but I think it's been a while since he's been in the public light.
Oh, wait a minute, Game Pack. Didn't Rayman show up in some DLC not too long ago or something?
Okay, well, yeah, he was in that Mario plus Rabbids DLC, but I mean, like, when was the last time he was in his own game? That's a rhetorical question. I can answer that for you, actually. Funny enough, that DLC dropped not too far from the 10th anniversary of his last solo outing, being Rayman Legends. And don't get me wrong, that DLC was a good time, but at the same time, I'm sure it left a lot of people hoping that a Sparks, a potential new outing for the Limbless Wonder. 10 years is quite some time after all. In an age where platforming mascots of all kinds are making comebacks, Rayman deserves just as much as the others to take center stage once again. Let's talk about it. So for the uninformed, Rayman is the quote-unquote mascot of Ubisoft. Before the Assassins, before the Tom Clancy's, there was this little whatchamacallit. And like most platforming mascots, his beginnings were rather humble. Now granted, I do have opinions on Rayman's first outing, but I think his first adventure left a decent mark on the landscape. It also helps that the game dropped before the platforming landscape was redefined forever, essentially. But with the landscape being redefined, the people at Ubisoft knew his next outing would have to deliver accordingly, and deliver accordingly it did, after some prototyping anyway. Rayman 2, in my humble opinion, did and still can stand tall amidst the big boys of 3D platformers. Like, this game came out in 1999, we had Mario 64 for several years now. Even aside from that, we had Banjo, we had Crash 3, Spyro 2. To say that it's able to stand tall amidst such giants is no small claim. I don't think it ever popped off as much as those titles, but it was still a slam dunk nonetheless. Fast forward to 2003 and Rayman hits another mark with his third adventure, Hoodlum Havoc, managing to maintain a decent balance between platforming and combat, with a little of that early 2000s edge to boot. You gotta understand, it was very common at the time, for better or worse. Anyway, despite it not being a rapid 3-hit combo like his contemporaries, Rayman had himself a solid trilogy on his hands, but it never really seemed like he ever popped off to the degree of other mascots. Like, I have to reiterate, Rayman's games up to this point, spin-offs notwithstanding, were good, or at the very least decent, but you never really heard him in the same breath as other mascots at the time. Or at the very least I sure didn't, but maybe he just needed to keep the momentum up. I'm sure he'll get there eventually.
See you in Rayman 4! See you in Rayman 4! Rayman 4!
But we never got Rayman 4, did we, Murphy? No, we didn't. Rumor has it that we were supposed to, but everything changed when those damn bunnies showed up. So yeah, after Rayman 3, his next outing would involve him fighting deranged rabbit creatures, called Rabbids. I'd say it's a step down from robot pirates or gun-toting hoodlums, but I digress. Without going into major details, what was planned was going to be a Rayman 4 akin to what we were already used to. What we got, however, was... Listen, despite being an overglorified minigame collection, I don't hate Raving Rabbids. I actually kind of enjoyed the sequel a bit too. But the thing is that the Rabbids kept sticking around, and eventually those little freaks took the spotlight from our punchy protagonist. This is what we in the business call getting Skylandered, which is not something I totally made up just now. I couldn't tell you why Ubisoft thought the Rabbids were the way. Personally, I blame some other small annoying creatures for that, but it was clear that they wanted them to stay, and Rayman's time in the limelight was as good as over. 5 long years went by without a Rayman in sight, but then, as if something out of a dream, he returned, with a shiny new art style and engine no less. I mean, heck, we even got a follow-up 2 years later with one of the sleekest 2D platformers I'd say is out there, period, with the aforementioned Legends game. But then after that, poof, nowhere to be seen yet again. The Rabbids went on to greener, shroomier pastures, and the rest of us were left to wonder when we would see that limbless creature yet again. So here we are in the present, and Rayman did technically come back, and don't get me wrong, the Mario plus Rabbids DLC is good, but he still finds himself chained to those furry fuzzballs. The game itself even points that out, but we're in an age where a bunch of platforming mascots are making their comebacks or even their debuts, and Rayman can and should join that movement. The only question being, who can handle the task? It certainly isn't Ubisoft proper, at least from a development standpoint. They have their own crap to sort out, and that's putting it very nicely. Not to mention the original creator, Michel Ancel, isn't even at the company anymore, for, reasons, I guess. So then who, I ask you? Well, much like the name of the game where he did make his comeback, a spark of hope lies with a couple of Ubisoft's smaller divisions, specifically Ubisoft Milan and Paris, the developers of the Mario plus Rabbids games. Even with that Ubisoft odor waiting around, you can tell that these games were a labor of love. That shows with the Rayman DLC as well. Going from a strategy RPG to a platformer is quite the leap, but I think they could pull it off given the time, resources, and maybe a little guidance, but I guess that's all just speculation. Rayman coming back may be a pipe dream, but dreams are what Rayman are made of. At least, I think he's made out of dreams. Is he made out of dreams? What is he made out of? It's like, I don't... Magic? Is it magic? It was like... Is it... Well, philosophy crisis aside, I do want to thank you if you made it to the end of this video. I appreciate it as always, and hey, if there's another platforming mascot you want me to discuss, preferably one that's more forgotten, let me know in the comments down below. Keep those eyes peeled for more to come. I'll see you next time.